York, you're watching News Always On. I'm Kessyl. White House Press Secretary Sarah Sanders is defending President Trump's tweet last night, which she threatened Iran. Sanders said, quote, "The president's responding to Iran and he's not allowing them to continue to make threats against America. If anybody is inciting anything, look no further than to Iran." President Trump posted the tweet in all caps overnight, saying hostile threats from Iran could bring dire consequences. He warned Iran to never ever threaten the US again. Iranian President Hassan Rouhani said in a speech on Sunday that a war with Iran would be, quote, "the mother of all wars." Shares are down more than 3% after the Wall Street Journal reported that Tesla is asking some suppliers for partial refunds. That's another sign of a cash crunch at the company. According to CNN, Tesla burned through $700 million in cash last quarter, and its cash reserves dipped 20%. Analysts say Tesla needs to sell a lot more cars, but Elon Musk has pushed back on naysayers, arguing that the company will be profitable this quarter and the next. Tesla's co-founder and CEO Musk confirmed on Twitter that Tesla is asking for money from its suppliers. On Monday, he wrote, quote, "Only costs that actually apply to Q3 and beyond would be counted. It would not be correct to apply historical cost savings to current quarter." A Tesla spokesman told CNN Money they asked fewer than 10 suppliers for money back for long-term projects that began in 2016 and have not yet been completed. The spokesman said the cost savings will help Tesla increase its production volume, though he claimed Tesla would be profitable without the concessions. A company spokesman said, quote, "Now that we are in a stronger position with Model 3 production ramping up, it is a good time to improve our competitive advantage in this area. We are focused on reaching a more sustainable long-term cost basis, not just finding one-time reductions for this quarter." In late June, Tesla finally hit an important production target for its most accessible price electrical car, the Model 3. Musk has been taking his opinions publicly by lashing out at journalists for critical coverage of Tesla. Earlier this month, he tweeted a disparaging claim about a cave diver who participated in the rescue of a Thai soccer team, calling him a paddle guy. That's all the time we have for now, but here's the fun fact. A 2002 study found that the prevalence of blue-eye color among the white population in the US is to be 33.8% for those born from year 1936 through 1951, compared with 57.4% from those born from 1899 through 1905. For News Always On, I'm Kessyl, and here is more from the morning newscast. Good afternoon from New York. You're watching News Always On. I'm Kessyl. U.S. Treasury Secretary Steven Mnuchin said he did not feel isolated despite claims of an American-prompted trade war dominating discussions at the two-day G20 finance ministers and central bank governors summit in Buenos Aires. His statements came at the end as the world's top financial officials called for more dialogue on trade disputes that threaten global economic growth, with one official warning that tensions could escalate further. Here is more.
What was discussed on this topic, and can you offer any assurance in terms?
These trade issues didn't occur overnight. President Trump is determined to have free and fair and more balanced trade, and we just want to make sure American companies and American workers are treated fairly. And yes, I do see a light at the end of the tunnel. Let me be clear, I didn't feel isolated at all here. I think as you guys commented on my popularity, I had no time to fit in any more meetings, or I would have had more meetings. We had very productive discussions. This was a very productive set of meetings, and again, I think communiques are important to look at the messages that we're trying to send, but don't overanalyze one sentence and be concerned. We understand what the trade issues are, and we're trying to productively deal with them.
The need to be vigilant, on cyber activities in the financial system.
I like Christine and respect her views, but on this issue, as I've commented already, and we're monitoring this carefully. I can only comment for the U.S. economy. I'm not commenting on anybody else. As I've said before, we see some micro impacts of where people, our counterparts, have targeted very, very specific items in specific communities. But from a macro standpoint, we do not yet see any significant impact on the economy, but we'll continue to monitor it.
You said this weekend that the tariffs could significantly harm the global economy. I was wondering if you...
We want more balanced trade. Both presidents agreed on the objective to have more balanced trade, and we want to have our companies have the same access to their markets that they have to us. We don't force joint ventures on them. We don't want our companies to have joint ventures there. And again, we want to have the right to protect our IP and our technology anywhere in the world. That's not just China specific.
A man firing a handgun into restaurants and cafes on Sunday as he walked along a Toronto street shot 14 people, killing 2 while injuring the other 12. According to Ontario's Special Investigations Unit, the shooter, who is 29-year-old this year, the man later died after an exchange of gunfire with police. Police Chief Mark Saunders said the shooting in the city's Greektown neighborhood was not random, and he did not rule out terrorism as a motive. The mayor of Toronto, John Tory, said that the city has a gun problem, in that guns are far too readily available to far too many people. He vowed to pursue gun reform in the city. Here is more.
Gunshots, lots of gunshots. That's about all I heard. And then I saw
How many shots would you say? How many?
I would say I heard at least 20 shots, right, in intervals. You know, clip being spent, reloading, clip being spent, reloading, clip being spent. That's what I heard. And then I saw the carnage as I ran down the street here to kind of follow the gunfire, I guess. I saw at least 4 people shot here by the fountain. As you said, someone came out of the restaurant here, so I missed that. Another person in Dimitri's, I assume, was shot because there was a lot of action going on there. Towels trying to be grabbed, trying to help people out, I guess, is what they were doing. That's all I saw. And then obviously the police arrived, and now I'm standing there watching this.
An unspeakable act was perpetrated Sunday on Danforth Avenue in our city, and I want to begin, and I'm sure I speak for every member of council and for all the people of the City of Toronto, in extending condolences to the families of those mourning the loss of their loved ones and to those in hospital this morning. And we're all praying for complete recovery for all of them.
On the traditional territory of many nations.
This is an attack against innocent families and against our entire city. This is a tragedy. Another tragedy in our city this year. I promise all of the people of Toronto, but most importantly those directly affected by this tragedy, that we will all be relentless in getting answers about why this senseless attack happened.
And Métis peoples, we also acknowledge that
our entire city has been shocked by this cowardly act of violence. As I said earlier this morning at the scene, I'm of course angry, as we all are, that someone would carry out such an attack, which really amounts to an attack on our city itself. Gun violence in any part of our city is horrible and completely unacceptable.
Including the Mississaugas of the Credit, the Anish.
I've said for some time that the city has a gun problem, in that guns are far too readily available to far too many people. It is something I spoke about very directly at a federal government conference held late last year on acts of violence. As I've said repeatedly, this is an international problem and this is a domestic problem. There are far too many people carrying around guns in our city and our region who should not have them. You've heard me ask the question of why anybody would need to buy 10 or 20 guns, which they can lawfully do under the present laws. And that leads to another question we need to discuss. Why does anyone in this city need to have a gun at all? And I know even answering that question won't fully eliminate tragedies like this, but even if we can prevent one of these incidents, then in my view it is a discussion worth having, and having very soon.
Nabe, the Chippewa, the Haudenosaunee.
I think it is fitting for us to revisit this issue, yes, to protect our city, but also out of respect for those who have lost their lives and had their lives dramatically disrupted by this senseless violence.
I've written down some notes because I didn't think I was going to be able to make this speech. This is so heartbreaking. The victims and their loved ones are in my thoughts and prayers.
And I echo the mayor's statement about guns. This was not gang-related shooting, but it was a gun-related shooting. And this council many times has taken strong positions on handguns and other guns in the city of Toronto, and I think it's time to step up again.
If I can ask members of council to rise for a moment of silence.
President Donald Trump says nearly 24 companies and trade organizations are signing his pledge to provide job training and apprenticeship programs as a way to boost the U.S. economy. The pledge will help train about 3.8 million students and workers for new jobs and careers.
Everyone here today is united by the same goal: to train, recruit, hire American workers. Thanks to our tremendous economic successes, and we've had a lot of them, and we've never had, and I have to tell you, as a country, we have never been more successful than we are exactly right now today. The numbers coming out are beyond what anyone ever thought possible. We're in the longest positive job growth streak in American history. African American unemployment has reached its lowest level in American history. Hispanic unemployment is at its lowest level in American history. Asian unemployment has reached its lowest level in American history. Women's unemployment, oh, this is too bad, Marilyn. This is very sad, has reached its lowest level in only 65 years. But within about 2 weeks, I think we'll be able to say in American history, because it's moving quickly. Okay, 65 years not so bad, right? We're asking businesses and organizations across the country to sign our new pledge to America's workers. Today, 23 companies and associations are pledging to expand apprenticeships. That's an interesting word for me to be saying, right? The apprentice. I never actually put that together until just now. That was a good experience, I will tell you that. That was a good experience, I will tell you that. By signing the pledge to America's workers, these great companies, and they are great, these are the greatest in the world, are affirming their commitment to train American workers for American jobs. Because America's strength, America's heart, and America's soul is found in our people. More than anything else, it's in our people. It's found in our people. More than anything else, it's in our people. I'm going to sign the executive order.